Hello ladies and gentlemen, it is the American Spy Fox. I was not planning on this video, but I think you should all be aware that Nirvana has been sued yet again, and this time it's because of this guy right here. He is alleging that his portrait is child pornography. We are going to read an article, and I will be talking about this more. It's very late. I just found out about this. I was actually in bed when the article popped up. And shout out to Rebecca Fennell. She also sent me the link like 5 minutes after I found out. So thanks for giving me a heads up. Let me tell you a couple reasons this makes me so angry. Number one, Chad Channing is listed on the lawsuit. Chad Channing was kicked out of the band, or as he says, it was amicable. He quit, and Dave Grohl took over before that photograph was even taken. But this dude is also suing Chad Channing, who wasn't even there. Number two, you guys would have no way to know about this. This is something I only talk to my patrons about. But in my area, there was this huge controversy. This girl ended up missing for years. And just this year, she reappeared. And when she reappeared, she was a teenager when she went missing. A couple years later, she reappears. She's an adult, and she told everybody that the church she was going to, ran by her uncle, was forcing her to have inappropriate relations with her brothers, and her father knew about it and all this crazy stuff. And I wanted to investigate that church and their apocalyptic, we have to have inappropriate relations with our cousins and brothers and sisters because the world's about to end and we need to repopulate the earth cult. I contacted the leader of that church, and this is what he said to me. I asked him for an interview. I said, I want to know about your church. I want to know what's going on. He looked at my channel. He watched my videos. He saw the Nevermind poster or Nevermind record sleeve in the back, and he said, this is coming from a church cult leader who told little girls they should be sleeping with their brothers and sisters. He said, I can't go on your channel. You have child pornography hanging up in the background. I don't know how I feel about that. Talk about projection, right? Anybody who looks at this picture and thinks child pornography, there's something wrong with you. Now, I know this isn't the main story, but I'm just making a case for this Nirvana Nevermind thing. I understand why perverts would think it's child pornography because they look at it as child pornography. But to every one of us who is normal, it's just a baby in a pool. And by the way, James Beller and a few other adults in that church have been indicted. They are going to prison. How does this come about? Let's read the article. Let's figure out how his attorney has turned this into child pornography, and then I'll come back with another comment to sort of sum up what I thought Kurt and Chris and Dave were getting at when they decided to make this the cover of their album. So here we have Spencer Eldon, the man whose unusual baby portrait was used for one of the most recognizable album covers of all time. Nirvana's Nevermind filed a lawsuit Tuesday alleging that the nude image constituted child pornography. Here we go, right here. Non-sexualized nude photos of infants are generally not considered child pornography because a normal person looking at them would not think about it in that way. This is how the attorney, Robert Lewis, has used a gray area of the law to try and get his hands on Kurt's money. Robert Lewis, Eldon's lawyer, Spencer Eldon's lawyer, offers an unusual interpretation of the image to argue that it crosses the line into child porn, writing that the inclusion of currency in the shot makes the baby appear, quote unquote, like a sex worker. Are you freaking kidding me? Of course, Dave Grohl, Chris Novoselic, Courtney Love, the Kurt Cobain estate. I'm not sure who Guy Oseary or Heather Perry is. It says managers of the Cobain estate. I thought that Frances was the manager of the Cobain estate. That's the title she has. Apparently, Frances was smart and hired people who knew how to handle money. Photographer, Kirk Weddle, the guy who took the picture. And then the art director, Robert Fisher. By the way, Robert Fisher is now also claiming that he made the smiley face, not Kurt Cobain. These are all people who are named as defendants, like I said, including Chad Channing. I believe the suggestion was, and you guys could probably agree with me, that when they made that, it was like, welcome to life, kid. You're going to spend your whole life chasing that dollar bill. You know, they were saying, oh, we sold out. We chased the money. Yeah, they were making a joke out of it, right? They come up out of the punk underground and they're like, well, you got us. We went after the major label. We went after the money. And guess what? You are too. And everybody else who's born on this earth are a slave to that dollar bill. So don't blame us because you would have done the same thing, right? Had nothing to do with this baby working as a sex worker. And you know as well as I do that no one in the history of Nirvana has ever interpreted this picture in that fashion. Except for maybe, I don't know, creepy preachers at a church that promotes incest. Only a demented mind, a twisted, demented mind, like somebody who runs a cult where they tell their family members they need to sleep with their brothers and sisters because the world's about to fucking end and they're going to repopulate the earth because the only people that are going to exist are their church members and all the church members are related. Only a twisted mind like that would look at that picture and say, that's child pornography, or that makes me uncomfortable. It's so strange that recently I was going to write a story on this girl who was missing for years and all this stuff happened. And when I went to interview the guy, he was like, I can't fuck with you because you have a naked baby in your background. I even went to my wife. I even told some of my patrons, the preacher of that church who was pushing this underage incestual relations amongst his own nieces and nephews, and you know he was getting involved too. 4 of those family members are now on their way to prison. He actually did an interview with the local newspaper. And when I contacted him, he wanted to do an interview with me too. But he said I had to take he didn't know what it was. He doesn't know who Nirvana is. He's some old creepy pervert. And he said, as long as you take that baby picture down, that makes me really uncomfortable. And I'm like, dude, he literally called it child pornography. And I explained to him in a very, very long, angry email that it was a record. It was not meant to be looked at by people who find it sexual. He was sexualizing it, and it pissed me off, and it made me want to reach through the computer screen and wring his neck. And I'm really glad that he decided he wouldn't do an interview with me unless I took that down, because I would have probably ended up doing something I regretted to this guy. I take that back. Not doing something I regretted, doing something that would have landed me in jail. Even my wife was like, you can't interview that guy. You'll end up you'll end up beating the shit out of him. The only reason I'm talking about this is because it so relates to Nirvana being sued. Something can only be sexual if it is sexualized. And anybody who wants to sexualize a baby, even this attorney, is not in their right mind. Another reason I bring this case up is because the next video about River Phoenix will also be talking about a cult who sexualized children. River Phoenix's family was a part of the Children of Christ. We will be talking about that in his documentary. Spencer Eldon, every anniversary of Nevermind, has taken credit for that picture proudly, and people have given him attention for it. You know what I mean? He gets online, he posts naked pictures of himself now as a man in a pool, same pose, takes credit for it, lets everybody say, oh, that's awesome, you were on the cover of Nevermind. And now some dirty, slick-ass attorney has figured out a way to make money off Kurt Cobain by calling it something it is not. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a crisis on our hands, not just with this, but with social media and period. In general, it is distorting the truth. You can throw evidence in people's faces today, and they will just believe what they want to believe. They will ignore facts. That's what social media has done to us. Social media has made this environment where everybody feels that they deserve something and they want a piece of the pie, and they are willing to do anything to get that fucking piece of the pie, except for hard work. I want it easy and I want it fast. I don't want to work for it because I deserve it, because my Twitter told me so, because my Facebook told me so, because my echo chamber, everything I'm listening to is what I want to hear, It all told me so. And that's what's wrong with Spencer Eldon. Now, he did go on to say that over the years he tried to contact Grohl, he tried to contact Chris Novoselic, and they never responded to him. He also said that originally his parents only got $200 for the photo. I think Spencer got mad, and I want to compare this to an example from my life. I know I'm just a tiny, itsy bitsy microcosm of Nirvana. I'm like a tenth of a microcosm of Nirvana. But listen to what happened to me, and maybe it'll help you understand better. In the beginning, when I had about 3,000 subscribers, I asked my subscribers, are any of you artists? I want a cartoon character of me to put on a banner, like I had like the red P filter and the red microphone, and I always wore a gray button-up shirt. Those of you who were around know exactly what I'm talking about. There was a couple people who said, yeah, I can do that for you, man, no problem. And I was very upfront that I don't have any money, I can't pay you, I can give you a shout out, that's about it. Oh, that's cool, man, no big deal. And I did. Somebody did a drawing for me. I used it as my banner for months. I gave them a shout out on Facebook, community posts, in a live chat. And then a whole year and some months later, when my channel has grown to around 30,000 subscribers, this person contacts me again and is upset that I didn't pay them for the art, and that I'm not consistently reiterating the fact that he drew the picture. When in the beginning, it was just this deal like, hey, I'm broke, I'm a nobody, but if anybody could draw me, that would be awesome, and I'd give you a shout out. I held my end of the bargain. Now, once he thought that I became successful and I was making money, and I wasn't, and I'm still not making money, he thought that I should pay him, that I should link him in every description, and so I just changed the banner. No big deal. The reason why I'm saying this is, remember, Nirvana wasn't big either. And all they had out was bleach. So when Spencer did this, his parents took $200 for the picture. They didn't know that they would sell millions and millions and millions of records. And now they want paid. They're mad that they agreed to a deal, and had Nirvana only sold 50,000 copies of Nevermind, this would have never came about. But because they've sold, I don't even know how many Nevermind copies have been sold to date. I'd have to Google it. I'm sure 30 million plus, probably a lot more. Now it's like, well, Dave won't talk to me, Chris won't talk to me. Where's my due at? Now, you could have a totally different opinion. Maybe you think, yeah, they should. He was just a baby. Maybe they should compensate him as an adult. Personally, I think this is the lowest, most disgusting way to go about getting royalties. But it fits the socioeconomic culture we live in. People get rich from being victims. Everybody loves to be a victim. Instead of doing the hard work, you just cling to someone else who did the hard work and accuse them of a bunch of shit. And then maybe one of those accusations will stick and you get paid off in court. You get a payday for doing nothing but being a victim. He was under the guardianship of his parents. His parents made the deal for $200. Nirvana couldn't predict the future. DGC couldn't predict the future. You took the deal. Both parties held up their end of the deal. You can't change the deal 30 years later. Is it okay for people to do that? Is it okay for them to just say, well, forget about the contract we signed. Fuck that. You made way more money than I ever thought you would. I want a piece of that pie. What do you think? I seriously want to know what you think in the comments below. And as usual, I'm sure that there will be some conflicting opinions. It came right after them getting sued for the circles, the Dante's Inferno circles, and now this. I almost felt like the Dante's Inferno circles led to Spencer Eldon being like, well, hey, wait a second, Nirvana's getting sued for circles? Hell, my baby picture is on their record and my mom and dad only got $200. We need to get an attorney and sue them too. Doesn't it strike you as odd timing right after the other illustration? Hey, it's working for them, it might work for me too. But it should tell us all something. It should tell us what kind of people Kurt had around him giving him advice. Idiots. His management team were a bunch of idiots. They were not protecting his back like they should have been. And this is sad to say, but I know that Kurt would have never felt this way about his record album. And it almost makes me glad that he's up there in heaven and doesn't have to deal with this bullshit. Because you know that a guy like him would have been terribly upset for being accused of having child pornography on his record album. I hate to see things like this happen, man. I hate to see things like this happen. If you make a deal, you sign the contract, both parties hold up their end of the deal, it's done. You can't come back later and change the game. What do you guys think? And again, we will be talking about this more in depth in the next Nirvana video. Let me know how this makes you feel. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.